Hello and welcome to the TMC Newsroom. Thanks for watching. My name is Rich Tehrani and we are at Interop 2010, and today is the end of the second day actually. And on our program we've got Asaf Somekh, who's the VP of Marketing at Voltaire. Asaf, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good, thanks for being on our program. Could you tell us about Voltaire, please?
Sure. We in Voltaire, we focus on the scale-out data center. Basically, what do we mean by scale-out? This is, we see this trend over the past few years where customers are designing and building new data centers that span to thousands of servers, starting with hundreds of servers and all the way to, we just heard recently about eBay building a data center with 15,000 servers in one data center. We see this trend growing and growing, and when people build this kind of data centers, obviously they want to leverage the commodity elements, basically the Intel-based servers, and use them as a building blocks to data center that scale and grow by adding more of these elements. Obviously all of these customers also use virtualization in this kind of environment, and the combination of scale out and virtualization really changes the networking landscape as we've seen it in the past.
So this is a cost savings solution then for customers as well, right? Resource savings?
It's about a way to build a data center that is dynamic, that if you need more resources, you add more of those commodity elements. And within the resources that you have, you can actually tunnel resources to a particular application that needs more of them in a particular time, or actually take from an application that is idle. And the whole point is, how do you do it efficiently, how you do it in the right timing, because believe me, there's so much manual configuration that is done today that when we hear horrible stories about end users that want to get 3 more servers to their database environments, and they get a response that they will get them next week. It's not going to work like that in the next generation data center. So what we do in order to achieve that, we provide a combination of switches, high density 10 gig Ethernet switches, and also packages of software. We have different types of software that combine and create an end-to-end solution with these 2 elements, and we show a lot of that here at the show.
And what's the response been to some of these things you've been showing?
So, let's talk about one of the demos that we're showing here. We basically built a mini data center in our booth. We have a rack that has Intel-based servers inside that rack, and storage, fiber channel storage, and all of that is connected with a fabric, multi-tier fabric of several switches from multi-vendors. So we got the Voltaire Vantage 8500 switch as the core of the fabric, and you have also switches from Blade Networks and from HP ProCurve, really representing what we hear from customers, that they want to have now a multi-vendor environment. People got used to the one vendor network that we've seen in the 90s, one vendor that basically ruled the data center. It's not going to be like that. I mean, there is a earthquake happening in the data center right now.
Okay.
I mean, look at this whole dynamics. Cisco, IBM, HP. It's not going to be in the like we've seen it in the past.
I'll throw Avaya in there too. They're really throwing their hat in the ring as a big.
Could be, but right now we see the big war happening between Cisco, IBM, and HP. That just 2-3 years ago, they were the best partners in the world. I mean, Cisco was part of the IBM solution, the part of the HP solution, and now that Cisco became a server company, there's a great opportunity for more vendors, and Voltaire is actually leveraging it already with our partnerships with IBM and HP.
It's very exciting. So in terms of the growth in the market, what have you seen the last few years? What's happening?
So I think 10 gig is definitely growing, especially inside the data center. So till about 2 years ago, most of the usage of 10 gig in enterprises was for connecting multiple switches as a backbone of the LAN or aggregation level. But now we see 10 gig happening in 2 ways. One, it's getting to the servers. And I think the big factor there is the use of virtualization. So think about this. You have all these new powerful servers that are based on the Intel Nehalem CPUs. Just recently, I think it was a month ago, that Intel announced their latest Nehalem CPU, that now customers are telling us that they're going to run 40 virtual machines on a single server. Think about the difference that it brings, that if just before virtualization you would run a single application on that server that most of the time would sit idle. Utilization levels were about 7%, 10%.
Right.
And now with virtualization, that server is pretty busy. And it's not just busy on the CPU part, it's busy on the networking part. Because
Sure.
you got so many applications running on that
Absolutely.
server, they're saturating the pipe going out of that server,
Right.
and then it affects the network. So this is where we actually simplify the environment. We actually came out with our Vantage 8500 switch, which is a high-density switch, 288 ports of 10 gig, fully non-blocking switch, very low latency. This is actually the lowest latency switch in the market, a single microsecond for the data to pass through the switch. There is no other switch. This is by order of magnitude faster than any other switch in the market. When you think about the impact of virtualization, that you have so much traffic, and the other impact there is that virtualization adds another layer of switching. Think about it. Think that this hypervisor that runs inside each physical server is just like another switch that is in this environment. It's a lot of complexity, and what we're doing, we're helping our customers to build flat networks, eliminating the traditional aggregation layers that you had in that hierarchical approach that people were building their data center.
Sure.
Those aggregation switches are now really becoming a serious bottleneck in the data center, because typically they're very blocking.
Sure.
We see switches that are, the common ones are 4-to-1 blocking, and with all that data coming from the servers now, with the amount of data that are coming from the virtual machines, they're basically exploding. So what we're doing, we replace this layer of switches. We put our core switches, the Vantage 8500, and with the fact that they have higher capacity, low latency, we basically replace 2 layers of switches in that environment and making the data center flat. Another important thing to say about the 8500, that you can actually cluster 12 of them together. This is a Voltaire patented technology that allows us to scale horizontally also the way you build the switching infrastructure. So 12 of those switches can form one virtual switch of 3,400 ports of 10 gig, non-blocking in a single data center. To complete that picture, we have another product called Voltaire Unified Fabric Manager, UFM, that we talked about creating a virtual switch. Treats the fabric as one single resource, and the fabric is comprised of the Voltaire switches, of the third-party switches that you have in that environment, and customers, all they need to do is basically allow UFM to manage the physical devices that you have there, and talk with UFM, basically enter UFM their services that they need. So in the demo that we have here, we're showing a mini data center where you have 2 services, an ERP service and an email service that this mini cloud is providing. And for each service, you have the application running scattered on all those virtual machines in that data center. It's basically impossible to manually understand where the traffic is flowing through all of those elements. And if you want to do it manually, it will take you days to configure the quality of service and to follow those links. And that's why it has been taken. That's why networks have been pretty inefficient till today. What UFM does, it allows you to, for example, within the ERP application that we have there, we have a tier of a database and a tier of application service. Just by drawing a line between these two tiers within the virtual environment, we actually define the types of policy that you have in that network.
Right.
And UFM basically defines the quality of service, the security capabilities, and when you apply those, you enter these capabilities and you apply it, UFM generates thousands of commands that are going to all those virtual machines, all those physical switches, virtual switches that you have there, to create the right routes, to create the right configuration of quality of service.
That's great.
As networks become more sophisticated, you have so many parameters, there's no way you can do it manually. UFM automates all of that.
That's fantastic. Well, I really appreciate your time today. It was wonderful learning about your products. And thank you very much for being on the program.
Thank you.